All right, so put me on the spot, put me to the test in regards to my theology in, respects to the devil and the ego. You have to just look at everything, really. Just zoom out and look at everything when it comes to spirituality and religion and everything under. It's all leading towards the loss of ego, or the taming of it, as I like to better put. That is, if your ego becomes extreme in its possession over you, rather than being a beneficial filter for your reality in this 3D plane, it can actually become your oppressor. And the oppressor is the devil. I've said it many times, the devil is a metaphor for your ego. And since I've come to that realization, every day I wake up, it makes more and more sense. With the more information I collect, the more I meditate on the subject, it makes pure sense more and more. And it will do tomorrow and onwards. But you see, the challenge I have is actually getting other people to consider, not even to understand or agree, because it's not about me, remember, it's about you. And what I am here to do is to seed something in you that may get you thinking alternatively. Seed something in you that may get you thinking on a level that you may have not thought on before. And when I mention the devil and the ego, this is one of those key tenets of mine. You see, when Jesus was going into the desert for 40 days and 40 nights and he was faced by the devil, he was facing his ego. He was stripping himself of his ego. For anyone out there who is on a sincere spiritual mission to evolve and to develop themselves will know that what they have to do in order to get to the next level is to lose their ego. And that doesn't mean you become a pushover. It doesn't mean you become passive. Rather, you become more assertive. You become more assertive because you know the objectivity of things. You're no longer on the extremes. You're no longer self-centric. You're no longer egocentric. And you're no longer, if you were, passive or a pushover, because both extremes are just as sinful as each other. So you got to find the middle ground. That is taming your ego, because you need an ego, of course, but we all know that when we can get into excesses of things, be it food, drugs, sex, it can become harmful, and the ego is no exception to that. You see, if you don't tame your ego, you'll find that your ego will tame you, so you'll be under its wraps, not it being under your wraps. So that's why you always have to remember regarding the ego. The ego is your friend, but it can also be your enemy. You decide, you give your ego the permission to do what it will to you, because you are the controller of it. And if you look at all the religions, all the dogmas, if you can sift through the details, through all that distraction, through all their ordinances and through all their traditions, if you can just sift yourself through all of that, you will see clear as day that all of them, essentially, the essence, remember, not the details, because that's where you find the devil, the essence is all pointing to the loss of ego. So this is the spiritual battle. This is the spiritual battle that they talk about in the book of Revelation. People have become accustomed to Hollywood, that they think everything will be as fantastical on the reality plane as it is in Hollywood. Hollywood is for another dimension, but I'm talking about 3D. The battle you read about in the book of Revelation and all those epic stories where it comes to the forces of good and evil. This is a metaphor for a man's fight within himself to subdue his lower self with his higher self. That's all it is. It's as simple as that. The only reason why it may seem complex and complicated is because man has made it so. For whatever reasons, you all know what my stance is on the reasons, but for whatever reasons, people have made the concept of our spiritual battle so complex, and it's not. The spiritual battle is all happening now, right now. You may not see a red-horned man in the sky with a tail fighting, a blonde, long-haired man with blue eyes, but trust me, inside of you right now, you're having a battle. You are battling your old self with your new self. You are trying to suppress and subdue those tendencies from the ego that you have learnt upon your way all up until now. And your higher self, the place you're going to, knows that it cannot go with it. So that is the fight, that is the battle. If anybody cannot understand what the devil is from that explanation regarding the ego, then I'm failing. But for me, I understand that, and it makes more and more sense as the days go by. If you think of any issue in the world, any problems, any wars, any famine, any poverty, if you really sift through all the distractions, all the details, you'll come to find that the root of the issue is the ego. Because there is a man or men who do not want to share, or a man or men who wants to attack because they have been attacked. It's all around the ego. Ego, ego, ego. I'll say that till I die. The devil is the ego is the devil. But the ego can be your God. You see, when it comes to lightness and darkness, a lot of people are knowing that it's them who decide. Because everyone's perception and reality is different, believe it or not. So somebody watching this, their reality and perception is completely different to mine. And they may even be living in a different dimension just by that definition. But where I am in my world, I know very well that this devil that all the religions talk about fighting is your ego. If they told that to you plain and simple, and it will happen one day, then the battle will be over. When we all have subdued our lower selves and we have come to be consumed by our higher selves. That's it, folks. Peace.